What up, y'all? So I got this Darton, which I never heard of before because I'm not like really big into bows or anything. But I got this Darton SL-50. SL-50. Um, it's pretty nice. I guess you're not supposed to dry fire it, from what I heard. The bus driver's the one that actually told me that. Because I got on the bus with it, and he was like, "Oh, I got one of those." I was like, "Oh, really?" He was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I need to find a place around here so I could practice." He said, "I've had it for years, but," he said, "you're not supposed to dry fire them because I don't know." He said it could damage something. He said he had to take it into the shop so they can fix it. And he said he actually did it twice, where he dry fired it, and he had to go pay to get it fixed apparently. But he was looking for a place to go and practice, and there's a place off of Pico. Cheviot Hills, I think it's called. It's right across from like 20th Century Fox Studios. There's like a huge park, and I think there's a golf course there, and then there's just like a park area. And they have, I know I've been there before. I've never actually went to do archery, but I've been there and I've seen the archery. I don't know if you call it, what do you call it? Field, archery course. It's not really a course. But the archery area, I guess you would say. So I've seen it before, and I was thinking about going and doing like classes and stuff there or whatever, because they have like, I think they had like free classes or something. So I was going to do it at one point, but I never did it. Anyway, when I first got it, I did, air fire it or, dry fire it, and it was super loud. I was like, wow. And like a lot of people like turned and looked like, what the heck? But I'm not going to do that anymore because apparently it's not good for it. But anyway, I came upon it and it was on a table. And usually when people have bows for sale, they're like super expensive. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I don't even really ask. But this time I just asked. It was on a table and I was like, "Oh, how much is the bow?" And the gal was like, and I was like, and then I was like digging my hand in my pocket to get my wallet as fast as possible so I can give her the $5 for this bow, because I just thought it looked really cool. This is it. Like I said, it's called the Darton, like a dart. So that's like the handle, and it's like got this wood, frame, and then it's got the, wheels or whatever, and it's pretty much the same obviously on the other side, so this was really nice. A nice find for really cheap, and I thought it was going to be a lot more valuable. I thought it was going to be worth a lot more because it has these little numbers like here and here, here, and I was like, oh, maybe that's a like a serial number, like maybe they're like numbered because they're so valuable. I was like, man, this thing's going to be super expensive. And even one guy was like, "Oh yeah, that thing," he's like, "Congratulations, that was like an awesome find. That's going to be valuable." But then when I looked it up, it was like between like used, they were selling for between like 60 and $100. So it's nothing crazy. But this company Darton, they actually have compound bows. They look like they have a lot that look super crazy and complex, and they have some that go for like $700, $800, $900. You know what I mean? So I was watching this show. I was watching the show Alone. I'm sure if you've seen my other video, then I watched the show Alone on the History Channel. It's history.com, and you can watch all the seasons. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But a lot of the people, they use bows, and I was shocked at how I can't think of the word, but they get the job done, basically. They're very powerful, and they could take down like wild game, like big game. They take, like, one guy took down a moose, another guy took down a musk ox. It's like a gigantic ox, right? So these things are very efficient and very powerful. and like they could basically take anything down. But I feel bad for those animals. I felt bad for them. So I don't want to like go out and hunt and use it to kill animals, though. That's what most people go out and use it for. I think I would do it more like Hunger Game status, like protection, basically. And me and the bus driver were talking about that, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Oh, do you use it for hunting or for like protection?" And I think he said both. But it would be very, very. It would work very well for protection. And we were just joking around, like, anyone coming to your place, it's almost like a silencer, you know what I mean? You just like snipe somebody. He's like, "Oh yeah, I would be on the ground, and I would just, pull back and just let it fly, and like they wouldn't know what hit them, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, why am I bleeding? Why do I have holes in my body? You know what I mean? Like, because it's not like loud like a gun. You're not going to hear it. It's just going to be boom. And that's it. So I think they'd be very good to use for protection. And since it's actually not worth that much, if it was, worth, $600-700, I would probably think very strongly about selling it to make that money. But since it's only like the ones that we're selling were like from $60 to $100, it's like I might as well just keep it. I have another bow actually that like comes apart, so it's like I think it's 5 pieces. There's like 2 up top, 2 on the bottom, and then the centerpiece. So there's 5 pieces to the frame, and then of course you have, it's not a compound bow, but of course you have the string. Where all that's at, I have no clue. But I do have another one, and then there's like 3 arrows that like you screw together, which is kind of cool. So it all comes in it all fits in a little carrying thing about not that big, because you got arrows that come apart in half, and then you got the bow that comes apart in 5 pieces. So that's pretty cool and very pretty light. And I mean, this is light as well, but obviously you're not going to be able to fold this down. You're going to have to carry it with you, wherever you go. And it's going to be, a little more of a burden than something that you could take apart. Anyway, I decided to keep it, and I'm not going to dry fire it, but it is really cool. I really like the look of it. It's, this comes back really, really easy, a lot easier than the other bows, because, it uses, I don't know, some kind of physics to make it easier. And then obviously it's got this little place right here where you put the arrows. And in Espanol, the arrows are called arcos? Or is that the bow? Oh, the bow is called arco, and the arrows are called flechas. So, bow and arrow. These I also got, but I got them a while back. It's got a little carrying case, which is kind of cool. And then a lot of the like feathers are like missing or like coming apart. So that, I don't know how to repair it, but it's got these pretty old school, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, these things are crazy. The Native Americans, they used to use them. And I'm still trying to think of that word. But they used to use them, and they do what they need to do, okay? When you're at war, when you're fighting, when you are trying to hunt buffalo, whatever you're trying to do, these things will do the job. Okay, so really excited with my purchase. And like I said, on that show alone, a lot of them, use them. And there was a guy on one season, he like literally all of his bows ended up falling out when he was like hiking around looking for, big game, or just looking for berries or whatever he was looking for. He ended up losing all of his arrows. I mean, they only get 9. They only get 9 arrows for however long they're going to stay. So they have to be very careful. Even when they fire one off, they have to go and try and find it. And they have to try and reuse them. Anyway, this guy lost all of his arrows, all 9 of his arrows. And he searched high and low and he couldn't find them. So he decided to make some arrows. So he was making some of his own arrows, which is kind of interesting too. There's been a couple there's been a couple people on the show. There was one that made bows, and there was one that made arrows, or that was good at making arrows. And the guy that made bows was like, people always ask why bows are so expensive, and he's like, this is why. And he's like, you always start out with just a log. You just take a log, and that's how you start out. And then obviously you have to cut it out, and it's a lot of work. So that's another reason why I was like, oh wow, this is going to be expensive, because of that guy on alone saying that that's why they're so expensive, is because it takes a lot of work to make them. And I guess, you know, 60, 80 bucks, that's I mean, that's a good amount of money. I'm not paying that much money for it. You know what I mean? That's a lot of money to me. But when it comes to like bows and some of the prices of some of them, you're like, wow, okay. So anyway, yeah, this is what I got, mainly for protection. I don't want to hunt, because, you know, unless maybe if it was like a life or death situation, I don't want to kill, you know, another living being, really. Another guy was telling me that he was watching this show. This guy, he's like a rock star, you know. I run him to him every once in a while, but he's like a lead singer of a band, and they like play all the time, like like at skate shows and all these different places, and they like travel the world, basically go to different countries, and you know, they're constantly working. So basically that's how he makes his living, from his band. So anyway, he was saying he was watching this show. I don't remember the name of it. I wish I would have remembered it, because I kind of want to see it. But he was saying, wait, was it him? Somebody, I don't know if it was him, but somebody was telling me that people fish with these. You know what I mean? They go in the water, and I'm sure it would work. And I think, like, I don't really eat meat. I don't eat meat. Okay, I don't eat meat at all. But I think if I was in a situation like alone, because you watch that show and it's basically like somebody getting dropped in the middle of, you know, the woods, the jungle, wherever. It's like you're just getting dropped there, and it's almost like you crash your plane there, and then it's just like, oh, how do I survive? That's pretty much what it's like. So I just would imagine, like, what would I do in that situation if I don't eat meat? How would I survive, especially during the winter when all the berries die off, or they freeze up, or, you know, what have you. You know, it's a lot more difficult to get any kind of green or, you know, food that grows. It's a lot more difficult. So I just thought, like, you know, the possibility that I may eat fish if I was in that situation, you know, where I was starving. Like, maybe I would eat fish. I don't know. But, you know, I could use this. You could use spears. You could use, you know, a fishing pole if you have one. But yeah, that's what that show made me think about. And it also makes me think of this story. Okay, so there's this story of this family. They go on vacation, and they go to this island. And there's not that many people on the island, but there are people that live on the island. So they go on this vacation. I think it was more like they had a boat, and they would cruise around and stuff like that. And they stopped on this island, and they were, you know, living on the island, camping on the island, whatever, for a little small amount of time. Anyway, their dog ends up getting left there. And I'm not sure if they got left there, if it jumped off the ship. I don't really remember exactly how the dog ended up on the island when the family took off. But the dog was on the island. And the people that lived on the island said they would see the dog. And the dog was just getting super skinny because it was really hungry. And like, eventually the dog was just like, it just did what dogs do, what wolves do, what any animal in the wild does. You know, you got to get food. So apparently there were like wild boar, wild pigs, all kind of things. And the dog started hunting like the wild pigs. Like, he started like going after them and eating them. And apparently the dog ended up gaining all the weight back, but then gaining a lot of weight because he was eating these pigs. And apparently the people that lived on the island would start seeing the dog, and it was like had a lot more weight on it. And they were like, oh wow, okay. So the family ended up getting reunited with the dog, but the dog, like, you know, had a lot of weight. And apparently the dog went back to, you know, life with a human. You know, it went back like smoothly. Like it just went back and started eating dog food, and just like that never happened that it lived on the island. So my point being, it's like if you're in that situation and you're starving and you're freaking super skinny, and it's like you have all these different resources that you can actually gain substance from, it's like maybe you would go in and, you know, maybe I would. I don't know. I'm not saying I would. So you vegetarians and vegans out there, don't get mad at me. So I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying it, you know, who knows? Who knows? You don't really know unless you're in that situation. You could say, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But, you know, if you're in that situation, you're starving to death. You know, your body's eating itself, its organs, its, you know, tendons, its muscles, everything. Then you don't know, basically. Anyway, I just thought this was a really cool find for an amazing deal. And I got it. And I'm excited with it. And maybe I will go over there to Pico Boulevard, across from 20th Century Fox, Cheviot Hills. Or maybe I'll look it up and see how much it costs to go out there and practice or whatever. You know, I think I could be pretty good, in my opinion. You know, I think I could be pretty good at it. You know, won't be the first time that I overestimated my abilities, I guess you would say. You know, a lot of times I do estimate my abilities, which is not good, or overestimate how much I could get done and how much I can do and how much I could push myself. You know, it's like you know, sometimes we don't realize. Anyway, like I really do think I could be good at, you know, doing this. And like I said, I don't want to dry fire. And I don't know what the difference would be between like actually dry firing and having a bow on there. Like, what's the difference? But the bus driver was telling me that they actually have this like trigger, which is pretty cool the way he was explaining it. Apparently, it's like you put this glove on, and the glove has a little hook that comes out, right? So then you put the hook on the string, but also there's a little trigger. So you pull this back, right? You pull the string back, and then when you pull the trigger, it releases the hook, which releases the string and fires off the arrow. So I just thought that was pretty cool to, you know, look into, because apparently there's all kind of things that like where the string could hit your forearm, the string could hit your hand and like cause like damage if you're doing it all the time. So you get some kind of burn, some kind of string burn or something. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That's my find, my bow and my arco y mis flechas, my bow and arrows. Anyway, I don't know. I was thinking maybe this could be like a thumbnail or something. You know what I'm saying? I could put it like near the end. That way I could do a thumbnail. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you have a great day. Take care. Be safe. And yeah.